Zoe Woodward, and I am the chairperson of Delgany Community Council. I'd like to welcome everyone here this evening to the Glenview Hotel, based by the beautiful Glen of the Downs Nature Reserve. Thank you to the candidates for coming along and taking part. And thank you to all members of the community who have made it out this evening, along with representatives from a number of local groups. We have people from North Wicklow Educate Together, Kilcool Primary School, AAA Alliance, INTO, Closh the Craveown, Greystones Men's Shed, Delgany Golf Club, M11 Friday the 13th Group, Delgany Motorway Movement, Tidy Towns Groups, Birdwatch Ireland and North Wicklow Together for Choice and Equality. I'd like to extend our thanks to the Public Participation Network for supporting this evening and to the Glenview Hotel for their help in setting up the event. As a group, Delgany Community Council engages with and on behalf of our local community. Most recently, we've made in-depth submissions on the County Development Plan review and the N11-M11 upgrade scheme, which threatens to decimate our surrounding landscape and natural heritage. The community faces many issues that need to be addressed and overcome, such as commuter congestion and poor public transport options, a high concentration of construction in the area, yet a lack of affordable housing, poor infrastructure. Delgany carries a burden of building, but doesn't even have a shared community green space. Even with local investment in schools, parents continue to be worried that their children will not have a school place this coming September. We are very lucky to live in the Garden of Ireland and have huge concerns over climate change and loss of biodiversity. In a moment, we will hear from Molly, a sixth-year student from Temple Carrick School, who is a local spokesperson on the environment and climate change. As mentioned earlier, this event is supported by the Public Participation Network, and we will be welcoming Helen Howe to say a few words in a moment. Before we get down to the reason we are all here this evening, Alice O'Donnell will run through the structure of the event so everyone is clear on how it will work. But for now, I will pass you over to Molly.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Molly, and I'm just going to talk to you briefly about climate change and give a kind of youth perspective on this general election. So, we are living in a time of crises. A homeless crisis, a hospital crisis, a mental health crisis, a refugee crisis, a climate crisis. To be honest with you, the list could just go on and on. We're all very good at acknowledging that a crisis is taking place, but do we ever really act on it? It's a shame that all these crises are being met by symbolic actions like meetings and strategies, but is there really any hard action taking place? From what I can see as a young person, the answer is no. As a society, we look at what is going on and say how awful it is that there needs to be a change, and usually that's just where it ends. As our elected representatives, we demand that you start to take responsibility and act in our interests. I believe that climate change is the greatest threat that we are facing in modern day society. However, unlike super viruses and wars, we have the ability to stop it. Climate change affects all parts of our life, from the food we eat to where we live to our safety. The IPCC, so the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, which is backed by the UN, states there are only 10 years until climate change is truly irreversible. That is why we need a government and representatives who put the emergency first. Climate change and biodiversity needs to be at the forefront of all decisions that are made. There needs to be attainable and effective actions taking place, and luckily there are an abundance of them. They just need to be put in place. Individual change and legislative change needs to work together as one with the other. It will not combat the crisis without the two working together. With this upcoming election, we have a chance to make change. Those of you in the room who are running have the opportunity to give the young people the assurance that when they look into the future, it is safe and it is welcoming. You have the opportunity to keep Wicklow the glorious county that it is. I'm a first-time voter in this election, and I, along with the thousands of other 18-year-olds, are taking a stand. We are voting for those who have sustainable and climate-friendly ideas and policies, and our vote could be the difference in you not getting a seat. I understand that some people may say I'm naive, that my demands are too ambitious, that I don't understand how budgets and resources are needed. But I'm certain if the government can afford to spend €1.8 million on a printer, they can find the money that is needed to go into climate change. On that note, I look forward to hearing what you all have to say this evening. Thank you very much.
Many thanks, Molly, for covering the huge environmental crises we face and on how we can make change. Can you all please welcome Helen Howe from the PPN to say a few words.
Good evening, everybody. I want to thank Delgany Community Council for organising this event tonight. Well done. It's no easy feat. I know we've organised two ourselves. We're in Bray in the Cornerstone Church on Friday morning, and we're in Glenview College on next Wednesday evening. So hope to see you all there. For people who haven't heard of the PPN, just very quickly, the Public Participation Network is a network of community and voluntary groups, all kinds of different groups from all across the county. We were established in 2014 as part of the Local Government Act. Our main reason for being, if you like, is to make sure that communities hear about the plans and the strategies and the things that's happening in national government and local government, the things that will impact on their lives, and then to facilitate communities to get their voices heard. So it's this two-way information. In 2018, we did a huge piece of work. We went around to 5 municipal districts of the county. We ran 11 workshops, we ran 5 online consultations, and we took on board 2 submissions, one from the COLA, the Youth Council, and one from Wicklow Dementia Support. And what we were doing, we were asking people, you know, what is your vision for your community, for this and for future generations? And we asked them to think about that under various headings, including the health, the environment, the economy. We took everything that people said and we pulled it all together and created a vision for community well-being for each municipal district and for the county as a whole. And we've put those visions into booklets, and I have brought them here with me tonight, and we're hoping that you'll take them away and you'll look at them, and you will take the hopes and dreams and wishes for this and future generations with you, and should you be elected, work hard to realise those dreams.
Thank you, Helen. We hope some of you here will be able to attend some of the other PPN events, and we will make sure all the candidates have a booklet as they are leaving. Alice O'Donnell is now going to run through how things are going to work tonight. Before I pass you over to her, can I please make everyone aware of our one ground rule? We want everyone in the room to be respectful of each other. I know that many of us are living stressful lives and going through difficult times, and it is understandable that it's easy to get frustrated. But please try to keep a check on that and be courteous and respectful of each other.
Okay, thank you, Zoe. And we're almost there. We're ready to kick off. Just to go through the format for this evening, we're going to ask each of the candidates to speak for 2 minutes uninterrupted to set out their own stall. Aileen, can you show your hand there, Aileen? Aileen is going to give them a 20-second warning, and then she's going to give them a cut-off, and people don't mess with Aileen. I want to thank Noel as well, who's here from Garden County Radio. He is recording just the initial contributions from the candidates, and he's going to make a podcast, and that will be available on your website and Facebook page, which will be nice for people to share with others maybe who couldn't be here this evening. And just on that note, we have had apologies from the candidates who are not here. They all have really busy schedules. They're out from morning until night. They have a lot of clashing commitments. You know, people are at other very relevant meetings, so if they're not here, it's not because they don't care. I know that too, Jennifer Whitmore and John Brady are hoping to join us later. They're at a meeting in Kilcool this evening. So following the 2 minutes, then we get to the exciting bit, and it's like speed dating. So what's going to happen then is each of your tables has got a topic on it. Some tables have got a lucky dip on them. So we hope you're sitting at one that is relevant to something that you came here to talk about or to listen to the candidates on this evening. So every candidate will be telling them go to table 1 or table 2 and so on. They will spend 5 minutes at your table and then they will rotate. We'll give a signal and they'll rotate to the next table. So over the evening you should get to have everybody at your table. There will be little gaps because we had planned for 11 from the get-go. We don't have 11 from the beginning. So we might have little gaps and you'll just have to bear with us if you have a 5-minute break, just relax and chat among yourselves. So without further ado, I think we can start. And I'm going to introduce the first candidate, Seamus Connor from Aintu. So Seamus, if you'd like to step up.
Thank you very much, and thank you for being here. My name is Seamus Connor. I am from Bray in County Wicklow. Can everyone hear me? Yeah. I'm 35 years of age. I am a secondary school teacher of 14 years experience. I have never been a member of any party before. The reason I joined Aintu is because I sincerely believe in their 3 core values of life, unity and economic justice. I sincerely want to work for all the people of Wicklow. And I know you're probably thinking, we've heard this all before. We've heard this before. But I can tell you, and people can vouch for me here in this room tonight, that I have worked hard, voluntarily, for the people of Bray, for the people of Wicklow, in terms of environment, in terms of youth, in terms of mental health. And I didn't do it for money. I didn't do it for prestige. I did it because I care. I sincerely care, and I want to be elected to help everyone in Wicklow, whether they be young or old, black or white, female or male, gay or straight. I want to help the people of Wicklow. Some of the things that I am passionate about, and you can see me here, and it's not a coincidence, it's an unfortunate coincidence. Healthcare. And I know the Minister for Health, thank you for being here, Minister Simon Harris is here. 20 seconds over. I was in the hospital for 3 days. I broke my wrist putting up a poster. I don't believe in posters. I know you're saying, well, why did you put them up? Well, I tell you, I have a solution. Don't put them up. Have a central location in each town and village with one board with the same size poster for every candidate, no posters anywhere, and just, that's fair. And we're not having waste. And is that it? Yeah. Sorry, thanks. I've got a lot more to say, but thank you.
Thank you, Seamus. I'd like to invite up Valerie Cox to speak, please. Just to let the candidates know that we are doing it in alphabetical order.
So I drew the short straw by being C. I've been a journalist for almost 50 years. And during that time, I've been very much involved in the life of County Wicklow. First of all, the environment. I broke the story of the illegal dumping some years ago. Everybody denied it. No, it wasn't happening. And one October morning, I actually had to go out at dawn and climb into one of the dumps to prove to myself that it was actually happening. Then I started a series on radio called Ditch Watch, where I went out and retrieved bags from ditches and brought the contents back to their owners. The funny thing was, it was the Pat Kenny show, and they were also on the Late Late show running a car promotion. And well, not every house, but some of the houses I called on, they said, oh, did I win the car? When I said I was from the Pat Kenny show. My main platform in this election is to do with older people and the way we treat older people. And really, I've had it up to here for the last 4 years, and this is what decided me to go for election. 4 years ago, we were working on the Greek island of Chios as volunteers with the refugees. My husband had a brain seizure. He spent 3 months in a coma, a year and a half in hospital. And although they saved his life, there's nothing wrong with the medical care, the supports for older people are appalling. He was 73 years old. Twice they tried to put him into a nursing home and told me he'd peaked. The services in terms of rehab are appalling. I almost had to take him to Germany for that. And at this point in time, there are 100 people from County Wicklow in hospital beds who cannot go to their own homes because they're waiting on a care package. That is an absolute disgrace. One family I know very well, and the father was in hospital for 8 weeks. They spent Christmas Day around his bed. We offer a fair deal for people who want to go into nursing homes. We don't offer anything for people who want to stay in their own homes. I think I'm going to be cut off here. Am I? How many seconds have I got left? 5 seconds. So I'll go now. There's a lot more to it than that, but that'll give you a flavour anyway. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Valerie. We'll now hear from Stephen Donnelly.
Try and time this. Thanks a million. Good evening, everybody. I'm delighted to be here. It's fantastic to see so many people here. That politics and political debate is alive and well. When we compare it to some of the cynicism and adversarial stuff we're seeing in America and we see in the UK, unfortunately, we should be very proud that we can all come together and discuss the issues that matter to us all. So I'm delighted to be here, and thanks to everybody who organised it. I'm just going to mention one big local issue and one big national issue. Locally, a lot of people got very exercised. I know there's a lot of people in the room deeply worried about this idea that we would have new bits of motorway cutting into Delgany, cutting into parts of Kilmechanic and other areas. It's bonkers. It's sort of 15 years into the future, and I would hope that it never sees the light of day. I met with the NTA in Dublin recently with Wicklow County Council officials and the Wicklow Town team. We proposed something very different. Turn the hard shoulders into dedicated bus corridors, work with Bus Éireann and Dublin Bus for high-speed express buses, more park and rides. The Wicklow Town team have already got one in place. Limited dart works north of the Greystone station. You increase the frequency to every 20 minutes, and then you bring the diesel train up and it goes back down again, doubling the frequency for people in Arklow, people in Wicklow Town. Essentially integrated public transport. I'm delighted to say that the NTA not only liked the idea, but in the meeting agreed to fund Wicklow County Council to begin the design work. So that's the solution to this idea that we'll be driving motorways through unspoilt parts are nonsense. In the 15 seconds left, the national issue is healthcare. We're in the middle of a full-blown healthcare crisis. It has to be solved. The job that I was doing before I got into politics was healthcare reform abroad. I think we need a huge focus. Simon and I might be the only two people in Ireland who want to ruin the next few years of our lives by being the Minister for Health. So thank you for all of that.
I now welcome Andrew Doyle, please.
I shook myself up before I started. Good evening. Thank you, Zoe, and thanks to the Delgany Community Council. I suppose I'll just introduce myself. I'm Andrew Doyle. I've been a public representative since 1999, councillor for 8 years, TD for 13 almost, and a Minister of State at the Department of Agriculture for the last 4 almost. One of the responsibilities that I have is with regard to forestry, also organics and horticulture. And just going back to Molly, I am a farmer. I have a quarter of 25% of my farm is planted, some of it 28 years ago, so it's not something I've come new to. I passionately believe that land use is the key to climate change solutions, rather than always being portrayed as the problem. We are going to have to feed 10 billion people up from 7 in the next 50 years. The platform isn't getting any bigger, the food platform, production platform, so we have to get smarter, cleaner and greener. And I believe we have the solutions, and in Ireland we can be an exemplar in it. I'm only picking on that subject because I know it's one of the ones, but I'd like to say, and I don't want to hold you up for 2 minutes or we'll have half an hour gone before we start. I want to get around to as many tables, listen to what you have to say, answer as honestly as I can, and we'll see how we go from there. But I think this is a really good exercise, and while we're all busy, it's only right that we try and listen to the people and listen to their concerns. Stephen has mentioned a specific one to this area in particular, but it affects a lot of the county, and it's coming up in a lot more areas than just here. And I think we have to try, amongst other things, is bring more employment and encourage more employment into the county, so that maybe people are going in the right direction, which is against the heavy traffic, to work instead of going with it all the time. So, okay, that'll do me. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. Can we now hear from Anthony Fitzgerald?
Good evening all. Thank you for being here. I'm a newbie, you might say. I got very distressed over the last few years. We live in a wonderful country, but there are so many things that are amiss at the moment. The necessity to take what is best that is on offer rather than get into confrontational disagreements for party purposes is not acceptable any longer. I'm fed up, basically, which is why I'm standing. I like to think that I could bring various things to the party. I'm a fellow of the London Business School. I've run my own small business for many years. I'm now retired. I'm a single father of a 17-year-old girl. I live in rented accommodation. I live very rich and I live very poor. So I know all ends of the scale, and that's what I would hope to bring to that experience, to improve our quality and quantity of life. There are obviously a lot of issues out there at the moment: the health, homelessness, housing. We hear the same hot air spouted over and over again. And enough, really enough. So I have, being the father of a 17-year-old, very conscious of what my grandchildren, your grandchildren, will be left with. Climate change has to be addressed as best as possible, but with the concerns of rural Ireland very much looked after. Although I've lived in Wicklow for the last 35 or 38 years, I'm actually a Kerry man. So I'm aware, very aware of rural deprivation. Okay, well, thank you very much indeed.
We will now hear from Simon Harris.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you very much for being here tonight, and thank you to the Delgany Community Council for organising this. I'm really here tonight to listen to you and to talk to you and with you. Many of you know me already. I've had the greatest honour of being your TD. I've grown up in Greystones. I'm now living in Delgany amongst the community, and it's a great community, but there's an awful lot more work that we need to do. Working together, we've got a lot of things done over the last few years, whether that's new schools, whether it's school extensions, whether it's the Wicklow Hospice opening, whether it's a GP out of hours service, whether it's more primary care centres. Working together, we have gotten a lot done because this is a great community, and I'm asking you for the chance to allow me to continue to work on your behalf and to be the voice for you in Dáil Éireann as well. On the N11, M11, which is a massive issue, it is a mad plan. It cannot happen. The answer is not to promise people something that might happen in 10 or 20 years. The answer is to deal with the congestion now. That means park and ride, it means express bus routes, it means improved public transport, it means increased art frequency, and not destroying our beautiful heritage village. And that's my commitment to you as well. But of course, you're not just electing councillors, you're electing people to work for you in the Dáil. And yes, I am the Minister for Health, and yes, it's a really tough job. And I can cite things that I've done that have made progress, whether it's new drugs for people with cystic fibrosis, changing the law so kids with disabilities can have an automatic entitlement to a medical card, 1 million extra home care hours. But we've a lot more to do. And you know the way we're going to fix health? By not scoring cheap political points off each other and not coming along at an election and slagging each other off and suggesting I have a better magical way. We're going to do it by working together on one plan. It's called Sláinte Care, taking the party politics out of it, a 10-year reform plan. And it means things like Bray Primary Care Centre being built, putting x-ray facilities in there so people don't have to go to hospital. So look, we'll have a lot of chances to talk about this, childcare, education, really big issues that I know together we can make progress on. So thank you very much for having me.
Welcome, William King.
Hello. I come on after the headline. You can call me Willie King or Don Quixote. I only have one political ambition, which I only acquired last Monday week. I read in a free paper in a shop in Palmerston about Cairns building 1,000 units and a cuckoo fund. We've all heard of cuckoo funds? Cuckoo funds are lots of money from far away being managed by bailiffs in Dublin, renting houses that Irish people should be buying. That's the only thing I want to talk about, because what's going to happen in 40 years' time is you're going to have 10 or 15,000 old ladies with nowhere to live. Because when you get old and you're renting from an American, you get from the energy and thing. My bit for being green is I have 2 posters, I have no leaflets. The 2 posters go with me everywhere I go. I stand at the side of the road. My observation for standing at the side of the road and waving at people in the morning when they're trying to get to work is that there is an awful lot of women in cars on their own. And they're in cars on their own because they don't feel safe on public transport. It's gone beyond everything else. You need a transport police. And you don't need just a transport police. In Dublin, you need... Remember the bus conductors? They kept order on all the buses. Well, that's it, really.
Thank you. We will now hear from John Larkin.
Thank you. My name is John Larkin. I live in Newtown, Mount Kennedy, County Wicklow. I started in the Health Board many, many years ago. I started out in James Street, Newcastle Hospital for 4.5, then they let me out. And then I went on to community care in Wicklow. And then I went on to work in the North Inner City. I did Ballymun, back to Dr. Stevens, shared services, internal audit, know where all the money is, know where all the wastage is, and into IT. Now, what I want to speak to you tonight about is the health service. It's something that's been a passion about me. I resigned from the Health Board to contest this election. Now, it is a 17 billion healthcare service. Simon has put the money into it, 17 billion. It's the 6th highest in the OECD. So we should have a Rolls-Royce health service. It is the people's money, it is the people's health service. It not should be in the hands of vested interests like the GP or the medical doctors or the big pharma or the insurance companies. It belongs to the people, and we should get the best benefit for the people themselves. Now, the next, Molly was on earlier about fixes. So this is the way from my experience, and it is past many years of how I would attempt to fix the health services. First of all, we have the trolley problem. Okay, it is caused because 95% of our hospitals have bed occupancy. We have only 5% left. So the idea would be to move that. About 1,000 patients could be treated in the community care. We have what they call the hospital in the homes in Dublin. We need an unlimited amount of home health care. We need the WICs that they have in England, walk-in care centres. They would take the people back into the community, and they also have the community hubs in the NHS. Okay, sorry. It'll take me a bit longer to finish it.
Next we'll hear from Stephen Matthews.
Thank you, Zoe. Good evening, everybody. My name is Stephen Matthews. I'm your Green Party candidate for Wicklow. It's great to see so many people here tonight. I take it as a real privilege to stand in the general election, to put myself before the people, and to put forward my party's policies and to defend them, and to try to convince you that they're the best policies for the future of our country, as I'm sure everybody else in the room will that has policies. My background is in planning and environmental management. I've worked for 25 years on railway signalling and engineering. And there are 3 areas that I'm passionate about. It's planning, environment, and transport. And every generation that's in this room, that's represented in this room, and every future generation, and their children, grandchildren, and Molly put it perfectly well, better than I probably will, climate change is the biggest issue facing us. Our environmental loss and biodiversity loss. Our environmental loss is mainly to do with climate change. There's 3 other areas that are causing biodiversity loss, which I'll discuss later on at the tables. I believe that we have the policies, I believe that we have the will, and I believe people desire and want to do the right thing to address these major issues that we have in our county, in our country. And they need to be facilitated, and it needs to be made easy for them, but I think they want to do that. In doing so, we improve our health, we improve our economy, we improve the well-being and the security for everybody. So tonight I would hope to talk to you about planning and transport and environmental matters, and I want to bring that passion to a national level and to introduce policies in those areas. Thank you. Good evening.
Now we'll hear from John Snow.
Thanks very much for the invitation from Delgany Community Committee, the Public Participation Network for organising this as well. I'm an independent candidate. I'm a member of Wicklow County Council since 2009. When first elected, I realised very quickly, coming from the community and voluntary sector, that to do the job you have to do it right, and it's 24/7. You have to give it full-time commitment. And that's why I believe by contesting this election, I hope that it makes all our TDs and whoever's elected after this, that they realise that they have to actually work hard for the constituents. Not just the constituents and everyone in Ireland, but I want to put County Wicklow front and centre of everything that happens in the next term of the Dáil. I'm passionate about housing, passionate about health. Molly summed up earlier when she spoke in regards to young people. But I think the one thing that everyone has to do that's a candidate in this election is listen to the people. And I'm going to go around the tables tonight and listen to what each and every one of you have to say. Because the reality is that every decision that's made by any public representative, be it at national or local, affects your lives. And it just doesn't affect your lives, it affects your children's lives and the next generation that comes behind us. Every action that's taken at a national level or a local level, I believe needs to be scrutinised. And I don't believe that in regards to, yes, we have to plan and we can have strategies, but why does everything have to take 15 to 20 years? We've heard everyone saying earlier in regards to, in 15 years' time. I don't believe that things should take that long. I'm passionate about Wicklow and I'm passionate about people and about the issues that's affecting us all. Thank you very much.
Thank you to all the candidates for addressing us this evening. It was all very interesting, and I think there's going to be a lot more interesting conversations happening at the tables over the next short while. If you just bear with us one moment, Alice is going to allocate tables to the candidates, and then you can get started.
Okay, thank you. I think that was really helpful just to have everybody speak uninterrupted for 2 minutes. You don't get that on your doorstep because you're trying to keep your dog in and keep an eye on the dinner and the children and so on. So what we're going to do now is each candidate will spend 5 minutes at your table. So we're going to ask people to stay at their table. If there's a spot at another table, you're welcome to move at some stage, but just in order to keep it running smoothly, that will work best. So I'm going to call a table, and I'm going to ask the people at that table to raise their hands, and I'm going to give a candidate a name. So Seamus Connor first, you're on table 1, so can table 1 hold their hands up, please? Thank you. And when Seamus is finished, he'll move on then to table 2, and they are arranged, it does go in a logical order, so I'm going to rely on the candidates' intelligence to find the number that comes after the one that they're on, if that's okay. Table 2, can you raise your hands, please? And you've got Valerie Cox to begin with. So Valerie, you're over here on table 2. Table 3, Stephen Donnelly, you're over there on table 3 to start. Thanks, Stephen. Andrew Doyle is on table 4. So table 4, can you raise your hands? Thank you. Table 5, Anthony Fitzgerald down there in the back, table 5. Simon Harris, table 6. You're down at the back, Simon. And then table 7. Table 7, can you raise your hands? Back left, William King, please. Table 8, can you raise your hands? John Larkin, start there. And table 9, Stephen Matthews. Table 10, John Snell. And table 11, you're going to have a little break because we're waiting on 2 other candidates to join us in a little while. Thank you. Okay. And just to say that we have apologies from all other candidates who are running, and we also then have 2 who will be joining us a little later, Jennifer Whitmore and John Brady. Thank you. Timing aid.